like I would lose myself any day, any hour, any minute, any second. I couldn't sleep nor eat. I felt like my body was eating itself.
But it was when he went into the back seat and pulled out something that looked like a gun.
And then all of a sudden, we got attacked by the police. We got barricaded. They were threatening us with guns, with tear gas.
But she couldn't make it to the hospital. She died on the way. She was so dear to my heart. I really loved her. I really loved her.
It's a lot of dishes, a lot of people in the house, so it's kind of hard to keep up with it.
Hi, I'm Laura, and this is my new normal. Just having classes on the basement next to the playroom. My new normal, COVID.
Hi, my name is Michael Edu, and as usual, I don't have to forget my mask. There we go, and off we go.
Hi, my name is Reed Corderell. This was my son's first time getting a COVID test in order to go back to school. Going to playgrounds, I was terrified my son would get sick. So instead, we would take him apple picking.
My name is Hananabo. I'm going out to get some grocery. Here I go. Get some groceries.
Oh man.
There.
Thank you.
My name is Peter Perez, and this is my new normal. They all work the same.
If I'm gonna wear this, they're gonna at least be cute.
My name is Jesus Mancilla. Another new normal is washing your hands when we come back from outside.
Hi, my name is Angelica, and this is my new normal.
Hi, my name is Jelani, and as you can see, there's nobody in here, as we have to keep a 6-foot distance. So we have to also wear a face covering as well to protect ourselves.
So with my new normal, I take my daily walks. Before the pandemic happened, I never take walks, but now I do.
My name is Fidaus Abdul Fattah. From 1 a.m. to 11 a.m. working at Amazon. I basically store the packages and then get them delivered by the drivers.
My name is Damian Clark, and this is my new normal. Is that we now have to use the dishwasher more than we usually do because people are home now. It's a lot of dishes, a lot of people in the house, so it's kind of hard to keep up with it time to time. We get things like this, an air hockey table, or other stuff to keep everybody inside and a little more safer. It's kind of precaution for my family.
COVID-19 has affected human life. It has taught us a lot about living a healthy lifestyle.
A tradition I created during the pandemic is that I ended up making a Zoom room so that my whole family could join in so that when it was over we can see each other without any of us missing.
Me and my family meet every week. I want to keep this because this has made me and my family closer.
A tradition that I created with my friends is that on every Saturday we will play games with each other.
At the beginning of the lockdown, due to boredom and my love for food, I've started cooking more and experimenting with new recipes.
A tradition I want to keep that I created during the pandemic is praying 5 times a day with my family. Praying saved me from my anxiety, my depression, and many more. It gave me an eternal peace and brought me so much closer to God and my family, which is why I want to keep this tradition.
COVID-19 has affected human life so significantly. It has taught us a lot about living a healthy lifestyle.
One welcome change is that I have begun to incorporate yoga into my routine. During the pandemic, I ate a ton and exercised absolutely not. Now, I am going to the gym regularly again. and doing yoga on most days.
A tradition I would like to keep that I created during the pandemic is taking afternoon naps.
During the peak of the pandemic, where schools were online and work was closed, my mobility and activeness decreased drastically. I therefore decided to pick up doing simple 30-minute stretching and workout every morning to keep my mind active.
Started going to the gym every time that I'm off from work or school, every leisure time that I got.
I played soccer because I loved it, and it was my way of getting exercise and staying active when I had been totally inactive during the pandemic.
A tradition that I want to keep that I created during the pandemic is a simple one. It's relaxing and taking deep breaths.
Before the pandemic, I didn't even know classes could be taught on Zoom. I never used Zoom before.
During the pandemic, I changed my mind about online classes when we had no choice but to take classes remotely. Previously, I never thought I would take classes online because I felt that I wouldn't do well.
During the pandemic, I changed my mind about taking in-person classes. I honestly learn best when I'm in person, but I just got so comfortable joining my class from under the blanket. And now I love it despite the days I cried for hating online classes. I just hope I never lose the option to stay online.
Before the pandemic, I didn't even know classes could be taught on Zoom. I never used Zoom before.
A big decision I took was taking online classes. I don't want to stop my education and my knowledge.
There is something about going to the classroom, seeing other students with their backpacks and books and watching the professor. There's something about that keeps me motivated. Yes, it has its own setbacks. However, it comes with its own benefits. Now I don't have to travel a distance to attend any class.
We're gonna upload this file to the Dropbox.
Any minute, any second. I couldn't sleep nor eat. I felt like my body was eating itself.
During the pandemic, I feared for my life. Go out this summer for Pride Parade. I was scared for my safety because others weren't wearing their masks. People were pushing and shoving us, and I thought, okay, someone's gonna try something. And then all of a sudden, we got attacked by the police. We got barricaded. They were threatening us with guns, with tear gas. And I thought to myself, like, I should have just stayed at home. Like, I should have been more careful.
I contracted COVID once in January, and it was one of the most uncomfortable experiences that I have had in my life, after experiencing what it feels like to struggle to breathe. This has led me to take every precaution possible to protect myself, the ones I love, and everyone around me. I became afraid to scratch my nose because I couldn't remember if I touched something else unclean. I became afraid to hold on to poles on the subway. I became afraid to hug my mother.
I was really scared for my own life during the pandemic when depression really took over my whole life. I got really depressed because I can't find my house as a home where you feel like you're being yourself or comfortable, or your family is understanding you and being there for you. I was really terrified because every time I would look at the mirror, I would see a whole different person. Every month, I would lose 5 to 8 pounds. Seeing that side of me made me feel like I would lose myself any day, any hour, any minute, any second. I couldn't sleep nor eat. I felt like my body was eating itself.
It's been difficult for myself to make an appointment with my primary doctor. Due to overcrowded visits, there's things that, you could tell your doctor, or you probably want to show your doctor. But personally, with me, I feel more frustrated.
My bosses told me I had to come into work when I told them I felt very bad. They did not care. They was like, well, either you come into work or you get fired. And at the time, I needed the job because my other job was shut down due to COVID. So I was like, okay, I gotta make my money some way, somehow.
And the other thing was like going outside because it was like, oh, you know, if you go outside, you might gonna get the virus and stuff like that. But yeah, I might gonna get the virus, but who's going to do my stuff? Like, I don't got nobody else to do my stuff. Like, if I don't do my own stuff, nobody else is gonna do it for me.
During the pandemic, I wasn't really necessarily scared of anything going on because I was just in my own bubble. Like, I wasn't really going outside in the beginning of the pandemic. I got books, I got everything I need in the house. The only time I need to go outside is when I need to do something for my mom, like either get groceries or like mail it something.
The doctor told me, yo, you have COVID. Thinking I was about to die, telling my friends I'm gonna miss them, all that. I'm giving my sister my password. I was thinking I was about to die. Yeah, and it was so scary that I had to take that step and start saying goodbye to people that I love.
I was working as a certified nursing assistant in a nursing home. And I was doing good at my job until COVID-19 got serious at my work site. And most of the assignments that was given to me had people with COVID-19. And one thing is that they were not vaccinated yet, and my work didn't have adequate protective equipment. This made us to improvise a lot. And I was scared to get the COVID because I felt I wasn't protected enough. So I had to quit my job. And now I'm currently not working.
Once I actually got infected with COVID. Like at first I didn't know I had COVID. I remember the first 3 days I had chills. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to get off of my bed.
So I changed lanes because they changed right back in front of me. So I changed lanes away from them. And they change again. And then they stop in the middle of the highway. But it was when he went into the back seat and pulled out something that looked, if I'm honest, like a gun, a long gun. And he pulled it out, and I turned the car right away, straight towards him. He jumped out the way, but I took down his car door, ripped off my side mirror and my door handle, and I got away.
I was so scared for me and my host family. I remember she told me and a friend that she felt sick and had symptoms. And after 2 days, she told me she tested positive. I have never been this close to COVID during the pandemic since that day.
At the height of the pandemic, I still had to go to work, and I had to take the train to work and from work every day. I really had to protect myself, but it felt not enough. And anytime somebody sneezed or coughed on the train, it was very bad, and I felt very scared of my life.
I got the news saying that I was positive for COVID-19. I felt like I was drowning, thinking that I might die. These 10 minutes felt like an eternity, and I feel blessed to be able to talk about this moment today.
This is an indication that we might have a worse pandemic than the one we are not even done escaping. When I think about the Delta variant, I feel sick to my stomach and scared. Things were just starting to get back to normal with the vaccines and the protocols, and I was ready to put COVID-19 behind me. 2020 was a rough year for me, and I would not want to go back to that.
When I think about the Delta variant, I feel frustrated and sad because at least these few months we had hope. And when I talk about hope, I am talking about the vaccines. We had an opportunity to feel at least a little bit safer than before. Now with Delta, we feel unsafe again, and with the fear of getting not just COVID, but a more aggressive virus. Here we are again, waiting for the third doses to feel safe again and still covering our faces, trying to take care of others and ourselves to survive the pandemic.
This is an indication that we might have a worse pandemic than the one we are not even done escaping.
I opened the door and she was there on the floor, just not moving, with glass and water everywhere. And I thought that it was COVID that had got her.
COVID-19 crippled my family already by taking someone away from us. I wonder how much more COVID would affect this family all the time. My mother is a teacher who this year went back to work in schools, and I fear that she contracts this horrible disease through her job working with so many kids in one classroom. I pray that vaccines are good enough to protect them.
A moment when I was scared of someone's life was when my grandma had COVID. Because of the technology over there is not well improved, they didn't give her the necessary treatment she needs. I was so scared that I was gonna lose my grandma. She beat the COVID for some reason.
One time during the pandemic that I feared for somebody else's life was for my mom. She's an essential worker. She couldn't just isolate and stay at home during the pandemic. So the fact that my mom had to be around someone who was exposed, and that kind of question mark in all of our heads, wondering, is she gonna be safe? Is she gonna be positive? It was just very scary.
We got a call from Ghana informing us that my godmom passed away when they were going to send her to the hospital because her illness got serious. But she couldn't make it to the hospital. She died on the way. She was so dear to my heart. I really loved her. I really loved her.
My aunt was sick, and then my grandma got sick, and my grandma was like feeling really like bad. So they ended up taking her to the hospital, and we found out that she had COVID. From there on, I thought like this was it. Like, I'm going to lose my grandmother.
A time that I was scared of someone's life in their pandemic would be my father. Like, I got sick, and then there was time that I used to blame myself, because then all of a sudden my father got sick, and then all of a sudden it's like seeing my own father like coughing a lot, or there been the nights that I had to sleep on their room due to the fact that I was scared that passed away in his sleep. And also opened up my eyes to see like how appreciated I am now with my parents still being alive now.
My grandmother, she was helping out her neighbor due to the neighbor having symptoms of pneumonia, and they wound up going to the hospital, and later that week my grandmother was diagnosed with COVID-19 as well.
One time I was scared for somebody else's life during the pandemic was with my girlfriend. She made it to the door and all I heard was a thud and glass break. I opened the door and she was there on the floor, just not moving, with glass and water everywhere. I thought that it was COVID that had got her, but she's fine now, and she was just dehydrated.
During the pandemic, I was scared for my mother's life when she got COVID. I used to cry every night with the fear that something bad could happen. Then a few days after, my father's mother also got COVID because they live in the same house. It was a lot for me. Those days were a nightmare. But I pray a lot and God heard my prayers, because a couple of weeks later they got better and tested negative.
During the pandemic, my younger cousin, he was 15 at that time, and he also has asthma. His temperature went high and then he got very sick. And thankfully, it wasn't the virus, it was the flu. And so he regained his strength and then he got better. But I was very scared for him.
The time I was scared for someone else's life during the pandemic was when I got word my other sister had just newly given birth to twins. There was a chance of exposure of my newly birthed nephews to that virus. But Thankfully, after my sister quarantined, she did the test again and the result came back negative. She was she was good. And my nephews did not contract the virus.
I was necessarily scared for my stepmother because midway of the pandemic, my dad and my stepmom got COVID. So I would have to take care of the family now, plus them, because they were afraid of touching things and the kids also catching it. Her having COVID caused a lot of problems, and it was very scary for me because I would see her shake uncontrollably, and it was like I was at the verge of crying because like she was very important in my life. She's the reason I am the person I am today, and it was actually a really scary time because I was like, okay, how do we get past this? Because like she's shaking from time to time. I don't know what to do. Like I don't know how to help her. Like I don't know, it was a lot going on, and that was the first time I was like scared of what was going on in the world because it's happening to a family member. It wasn't really necessarily happening to me. So I can say with a lot of confidence, like it kind of changed the way how I think a certain way because as I saw her or what she was kind of going through, like how I need to make sure I am being more safe, not only to myself but to other people.
We were brainwashed about vaccines and surrounded by people who did not know nothing about vaccines.
I was skeptical about taking the vaccine based on so many stories I heard. But after my dad, my mom, a couple of my friends took it without any side effects, and I saw the COVID was spreading rapidly, I changed my mind about the vaccine, and now I'm vaccinated and fully protected against this COVID-19.
I was very on the edge, very sketchy, and it wasn't sure if I really was going to get vaccinated or not. But talking to my grandmother and seeing how much she succeeded in it, which I highly agreed, because I was like, hold on, I don't want to get sick, and I already got COVID already, so I was like, maybe this shot will help me.
As summer was coming to an end, everybody in my family got vaccinated. We were brainwashed about vaccines and surrounded by people who did not know nothing about vaccines, which is why we didn't got the vaccine early.
At the beginning of the pandemic, I underestimated the seriousness of COVID-19. I was not interested in wearing a mask for those first couple of weeks in March of 2020. I was horribly wrong. So I had to accept the fact that I can no longer live the way I always have. To this day, I am reluctant to take off masks. My job at one point even allowed employees to walk in without a mask, and I refused to ever work a shift without it. And I am glad that I came to the realization quickly that I needed to protect myself and others around me.
I had found a reason again to go back to school. I'd found purpose. I found the strength to continue.
These days, I'm really doing better for myself. I've been kind of spiraling. I'm sorry to say this, but I was kind of glad because like I feel like everything slowed down, everything stopped. It gave me time to like reflect, breathe. So now these days, like I'm already comfortable with myself. Like I feel like I can do anything if I put my mind to it without feeling like being pressured.
Things are getting better for me because of the decisions I have taken for myself. I recently applied to become a real estate agent.
Things are getting better for me. I've finally been able to get out of debt. I've been able to finally go back to school.
A lot of good things has happened to me as well. I've been enrolled in college since the pandemic, online classes, but I feel proud of myself because I've been learning.
Things are getting better for me. Now I'm here pursuing my dreams, having the opportunity to study in the United States, despite being away from my family and friends, but bringing out the good from the bad.
Deciding to work, even though I knew how risky it was, I was still working just to get my school fees paid and some of my bills paid.
Because of the just fear and the severity of the pandemic, I thought the best option would be to completely social distance to make sure that I keep my son safe.
The big decision that I made during the pandemic that others disagreed with, but I did it anyway, was going out. I wanted to feel alive, and it was actually the best decision that I have ever made. It was so quiet, and the weather was amazing, and that was all I ever wanted to feel.
Difficult choices that I have made during the pandemic that others didn't agree with was unemployment, and my friends didn't agree with choosing unemployment because they were so used to working and having a job. But we're going through a pandemic and we need benefits.
I have taken 5 semesters fully online, and although I still feel that I would have performed a bit better if we were in person, I must admit that online classes isn't as dreadful as I imagined.
One big decision I had made this pandemic was to quit my job, but I also got the chance to go back to school. And I wouldn't have been able to do that, and I wouldn't be here in school right now while I'm working 2 jobs at the same time if it wasn't for that. I'd found a reason again to go back to school. I'd found purpose. I found the strength to continue.
I chose to listen to what scientists studied and discovered. I want this disease to stop killing people and to stop spreading. And I felt the only way I could help do that is by taking the vaccine. I did not regret my decision to get vaccinated because I feel that I have taken the proper steps to protecting my family and everyone else around me. I decided that it is important to not politicize the steps that need to be taken in order to make the world safe again. If we want things to be normal again, I think we have to be willing to make the necessary steps and listen to those who have studied almost all of their lives to be able to rise to the occasion of a time like this. It is important that we listen to those scientists and take all of the necessary precautions to protect one another.